Howdy, howdy, y'all. Welcome back to Some Antics. It is another Tuesday, which means we're going to be learning some excellent accessibility goodness. Today, I have with me Rachel DiTullio. Rachel, hello.
Hi Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm super excited to be chatting, and I'm super excited to be talking about forms today. But before we talk about forms, I would love to give you a chance to introduce yourself for folks who might not have seen you around.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Rachele DiTullio. I am currently an accessibility engineer. I started out as a front-end developer quite a while ago. I have a couple decades of experience doing front-end development, and I have a real passion for accessibility and semantic HTML. So with that interest, I went to graduate school thinking I would get into usability, and that really led me into accessibility. So that's where I am today.
That's awesome. I love that. I feel like everyone kind of I'm it never ceases to amaze me just the different paths that people take to get to like where they are.
Yeah.
Like yeah, just studying usability and then finding your way into the web and into web accessibility and HTML. Um I mean, cuz for me my experience was I went to college and got a computer science degree. Like it feels like a very traditional almost cookie cutter path. I
Mhm.
love seeing um how other people get to like where they are, you know?
Yeah, it is really interesting. When I worked at a software company previously, it seemed like most of us had some kind of liberal arts degree, whether it was English or history or music, and we all ended up doing software development.
Yeah. That is awesome. Well, I'm super thrilled to have you on. Yeah, so today we're talking about forms. Why do forms interest you accessibility wise?
Yeah, like I was saying before with the semantic HTML, there's a really strong semantic link in forms. There are several things that we need to do to programmatically convey the states of forms and the names and role values that are going on to assistive technology. And it's pretty easy to get right, but it's really easy to get wrong too if you're just
Mhm.
leaving something out unaware that it's even required. And also, I really enjoy information architecture. So there's this again structure to forms that is very appealing to me. It's like you can get it right.
Yes. Though I do have to say, like, to me always feel very deceptive. Like,
Mm.
I always go into a form thinking it's going to be simple, and then it's never as simple as I think it's going to be. Um, and I would wonder if you maybe feel the same way. And chat, maybe, like, how do you feel about forms? Where is your head at on forms?
Yeah, I think forms take a lot more planning than a lot of folks might think. It's because it is easy to just create a form. It's very simple to create something that will work in a browser, but it's not as simple to get all of the various states of controls correct unless you really look into it. Beyond the surface of what you're going to see in a basic article about an input or something like that. So yeah, as long as you have an idea of grouping certain controls if they're related, the order that you want to put things in that makes sense. There's a lot of things you can do to structure the form to make it easier to navigate for assistive technology, particularly.
Absolutely. Um, yeah. Honestly, I don't know that I have a whole lot of like a whole lot more vamping to do before just diving into it. What say you we look at some code?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I'm actually going to pull. Ooh, that is other stuff. Excellent. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna pull some stuff up side by side. We started with a very small, minimal boilerplate. You sent me some styles just so it would look nice in advance. I don't think we're gonna dive much into the styles today. But yeah, can you kind of walk us through what we've got so far?
Sure. We've got a form element that's going to contain everything that we're working on, and that's, the basis of a form. We're not going to look at the on submit behavior or anything about that, actions or post get, that kind of thing. We're just looking at the structure of a form. So within that form element, we've got a little bit of HTML that will divide it into 2 columns if you're in a wider viewport, and then scale down to a single column. So yeah, let's, I think, get started just adding some form fields. When I say form field, I want to be a little more precise in my speaking. I'll try to say element or attribute specifically when I'm talking about something. And when I say form field, that to me is a combination of like a label and an input, generally when we say form field. So the full combination there. So let's put in a label element for our first field,
Are we
which is
doing this inside of the item
yes,
here?
in the
Okay.
class equals item. Yep.
Cool. So start with a label. Ooh, hello. Editor's getting a little
Yep. We're
overeager.
gonna we're gonna go a little bit step by step on these forms, so that you may say, oh, it's missing something, but we'll get to it, I promise. So the first field is cat's name.
Okay, cat's name. Got it.
Yeah.
Ooh, hello.
And then on the next, yeah, let's put an input of type equals text.
Type equals text. Okay.
And yeah, if we refresh,
Is this why is input self-closing? I feel like it's
yeah.
oh, it's act linter. Okay. Act
Oh, it's
spoiling the surprises.
Okay.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, and yeah, if we can refresh. Okay, so we have a simple field here. Let's add a second one for following the first one. Yeah,
Okay.
in the same div there. Yeah, let's add another label for your email.
Your email. Well, I
And
guess
we'll
the
have
consistent capitalization there.
yeah, and we'll have an input type equals email. So if you didn't know, there are different input types, and when you have a text input, email is one of those types, and it helps reinforce the correct information, the correct data being entered into that field. And we'll look at field validation a little bit later. Now let's go ahead and add one more field for cat's birthday.
Label. Ooh.
So we'll have a label, yeah, a label for cat's birthday, sorry, and
I need to like turn off these like pop-ups or something like that. VS Code is being too helpful right now. Okay.
Yep, and then we'll have another input type equals text.
Type equals text. Okay.
Yep, and then after the second div class equals item, let's go ahead and add our button for our form. So you can put it outside that div. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right here?
Between there. Yep. Yeah. So we can
Okay.
do, yeah. Or input, either way. Let me see what I did in the code.
Yeah. What do you? I'm curious what you prefer.
Yeah, button type equals submit. Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter on the submit button if you use input or button. I just try to consistently use button because I feel like it gets no love.
Yeah. So, sorry. Did you mean we could build this with a div? No. But yeah, because the alternative here that we're talking about, gosh, these pop-ups. Or we could do something like input type equals submit. And I think we would have to like put stuff in here, right?
We can say value equals
value.
Whatever we want
Thank you.
The text to read.
So it would be like value equals submit.
So,
yeah. I'm definitely with you on the yeah. Here I'll put in submit as well for this one. I'm definitely with you on I prefer to use the button for this. I never think about a submit button as a kind of input. Like I read this and I'm expecting like something I would type into. Whereas, button is a button. So
yeah.
But you're telling me both of these are gonna be functionally identical.
Yes.
Cool. And I will nuke that.
Let's see. Actually, can you put the button outside the other div as well, right before the end form? Yeah. I was like, why doesn't it look right?
I've saved, so I think the styles are still getting applied. I wonder if maybe it's no, it's not the
No,
responsiveness.
that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
I actually didn't test it without something present, so it might make sense actually.
Okay, cool, cool,
Okay,
cool.
so these are, this is your most basic form. You have some form fields and you have, your inputs and your labels and your submit button. But nothing is programmatically linked. And what I mean by that is if somebody is coming to this form trying to use a screen reader or a braille display, they don't know which of those inputs relates to which of those labels because we haven't put in that semantic link. And so the editor tried to do it for us, but the first thing we need to do, we give each of the inputs a unique ID.
Okay.
And then we add a for element to the label that connects them, the input and the label.
I have a quick request before we do that. Can I demonstrate this with voiceover so folks can actually see
yes,
like what the experience is? Cool. Let's go ahead and do that.
VoiceOver on Pro.
Okay, so for those who are watching who aren't familiar, VoiceOver is the built-in screen reader for Mac OS. And so if you're on Mac, and you need a screen reader, you're basically going to use VoiceOver. There's other options for other operating systems, including JAWS and NVDA are the big ones for Windows, and mobile all has their own. Android has TalkBack. I want to say Linux is called Orca, I want to say. But yeah, so what I did on my Mac to turn on VoiceOver was I held down Command and then hit my Touch ID button 3 times. That was the shortcut I just used there. So this is something that would be used by people who are, for instance, blind or low vision, perhaps dyslexic, anyone who might need something to read aloud the contents of a page or application, or send it to like a braille display. So it's an alternate way to get the content without having to see the content. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that.
No, that's
explanation.
perfect.
Cool.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's multiple ways I could navigate this page, but actually, so when it comes to specifically navigating forms, how are screen reader users going to expect to navigate a form? What would they do? What keys would they hit?
Yeah, something that's useful to mention is when a screen reader encounters a form, it actually changes modes, and it changes modes into forms mode. What that does is it allows you to do things like type into an input, whereas if you were browsing just regular text and you typed any of those keys, nothing would happen. But you need to be able to do those, and so the screen reader knows how to switch modes. Now, generally, you can use the virtual cursor, which takes you through each element in the form, and some folks will do that to explore a form and see what is contained in the form usually before filling it out or trying to fill it out. Then you can move between each focusable element using the tab key.
Okay.
So a mix of those two.
Yeah, so if I'm tabbing, then what this is going to sound like is...
Entering accessible forms web content. Edit text, blank, main. Menu pop-up, edit text with autofill menu. Edit text, blank. You are submit button. You are currently on a button. To click this button, press it.
Is reading just the focusable elements, it's not announcing the label because we haven't made that semantic link yet. So if we can add that and then listen to it again, and we'll notice that it does tell you the name of the input when you tab to it.
Absolutely. So I'm going to shut down VoiceOver.
VoiceOver off.
Always have to give that caveat because, like, it's... I don't know. I've definitely had guests where it's like I need to be able to do something, like, and I want to turn off VoiceOver, but VoiceOver's gonna like interrupt the guests as they're talking.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So we're going to associate the label with the input. So
So
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
All right. So yeah, let's give a unique ID to the first input there. It can be name.
Okay.
And then we say on the label, we say for equals name.
All right. And so specifically, the value of our for has to match this ID?
Yes, and the ID needs to be unique. So name might not always be the greatest one, but it's fine for a little demonstration.
Cool.
So let's do the same thing for email. just ID equals email.
And then this would be 4
Yeah,
equals.
4 equals email. Yep.
And then same thing down here.
Yeah, let's just say ID equals birthday.
And up here for birthday.
Yeah.
All right. And so I've saved. Nothing seems to have visually changed, but you're telling me that the labels and the inputs are now linked.
Yes. So if you want to fire up voiceover again, we should be able to hear the label when the field gets focused.
Let's see. Ooh.
VoiceOver on enter password application.
Wow.
Login system dialog. Dim.
Are you still there?
Login enter password window.
Wow, incredible. I don't know if everyone can see my lock screen. Hang on.
Yes, they can.
Oh, that's incredible. I'm going to maybe turn off
okay, sure.
voiceover before it reads out my password. That's incredible. Incredibly secure passwords going on there. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's try this again for realsies.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Accessible forms. Google Chrome. Entering accessible forms web content. Name. Menu pop-up. Edit your email. Menu pop-up. Edit text with autofill menu. Birthday. Edit text. You are currently on the text field. Submit button.
So as I tabbed at each of those fields, it started by telling me the name of these fields, right? It told me Cat's name or Cat's birthday.
Yep.
Also, I am going to have to talk to the browser auto suggestions for totally not doxing me on stream. It happens.
Yeah, I've had that issue, and then I had to go blur things out in a recording.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are some basic like text type inputs, but let's put in a group of controls. So
Okay.
a group of radio buttons.
Sounds good.
VoiceOver off.
Also, while we're on the even before we do the label, the groups, I do have a question about the labels. So
Sure.
is the label and associating it with the 4, is that just for screen reader users? Or does it do
No.
other stuff for us too?
It actually does do other stuff. Thank you for bringing that up. So if you take your mouse cursor, or if you use your pointer finger, you can click on the label and it will give focus to the form field as well. So that increases, especially when we talk about something like radio buttons and checkboxes, that increases the hit area that somebody with mobility issues can use to select a control.
Awesome. And I expect that's especially useful on mobile where everything appears smaller anyway. Yeah.
Yes, very much.
All right. Cool. So yeah, let's do some radio stuff. Where would you like me to do the
So
radio?
let's start after our cat's birthday input.
Okay.
Inside that same div, yeah. And we
got
will first. So let's see. How do I want to do this? Well, let's just create a couple of radio buttons first. So we'll have a label. I'm sorry. Let's just create the radio button first. So we'll have an input of type equals radio. And we'll give that one an ID, a unique ID of yes. Now let's create a similar one with a unique ID of no. So if we look over on the screen, it should.
Oh, sorry. I need to save. Apparently, that would help.
So there, we've got 2 radio buttons. Easy peasy. What we don't have are labels for those radio buttons. So something that you can do is also surround your control with a label element to give it further semantic meaning. So in this case, we're going to put a label. Let's start our label before the first radio button.
Okay.
And we'll say label for yes.
All right.
And we'll type out the word yes, our visible label. Yeah. And let's put the ending label tag at the end of the radio button itself.
Got it. So break this out into multiple lines, perhaps, and then bring that in. So like this?
Yeah. Yep, that works. And let's do the same thing for now.
Awesome. I'm just going to copy paste this.
Yeah.
So
All right, so we've got 2 radio options, but what we don't have is anything telling us what they're for. So the way that we do that, and this is something that is novel to a lot of folks, there's an element called a field set, and a field set groups like controls, so groups of radio buttons, groups of checkboxes. So let's go ahead and add a field set element before our first label there, the yes label.
Okay. Field set. And then
Yeah, and then we
stick
will
this all in.
Yeah, put all that into the field set. Yeah, that's right. And let's see if that updates anything. Okay, so some of my CSS said, okay, display these in line. So that's great. So now they're grouped, but they don't have a group label. And that's particularly important because we've already used the label element as for the individual inputs, but we need a way to label a group. And that element is called the legend element, and that goes right after the field set. It's sort of like a caption for a table. So in here, this question is your cat altered? Fixed. Yeah. There we go. So now, so that's 2 different ways of labeling elements, but we're using label in one hand, legend in another, because we can't put like a superset label. That's not how that works.
Okay.
We just have the label element.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So
would this be a good opportunity to check this out in VoiceOver and see how the legend and the labels combine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
VoiceOver on code. In Chrome. Android.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Radio button. 1 of 2. Is your cat fixed? Group. You are currently on a radio. No. Selected radio button. 2 of 2. Yes. Selected radio button. 1 of 2. You are currently on. Yes. Selected cat's birthday. Edit text. May. Yes. Selected radio button. 1 of 2. Is your cat fixed? Group.
Okay.
I'm not sure why it's selecting both. That's incorrect, but
VoiceOver off.
I think I do know, and I think it's because.
Yeah, I forgot.
Go ahead.
Missed one little thing. I'm sorry. To further group the radio buttons, I'm sorry, you need the name attribute. So you give both of your radio buttons the same name attribute, and that semantically links them as being related as well. So let's just call this fixed.
Makes sense to me.
Yep, sorry, overlooked that one.
No, you're good. I think it's good to see without this too.
Yeah, because you can see how multiple radio buttons can get selected if you have something that's not grouping them.
By the way, Chan in the chat is complimenting your, I think he means your legend style. Yeah, it's a good look. You did a great job with these styles.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so now that both of these have the fixed name, it should only select one at a time.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Cool.
Okay, so let's basically do the same thing for some checkboxes, just to kind of see what that looks like. We'll go to the second div now, the class equals item. Start there.
So should we start with a field set, you think?
Yeah, so we can start with a field set. We'll have a legend. And that legend will be cat's colors.
Okay, yeah, because cat can be multiple colors, that track.
Yeah, and then we'll have a couple of different checkboxes. So let's do label 4 equals black will be the first color. So black, so then we'll, inside that label, add an input type equals checkbox.
Yeah. There we go. It's being very, very helpful in a way that I perhaps don't need today. Okay.
And then ID equals black so that they are semantically connected. And let's just do that for a couple more colors. You can just copy.
And I probably need to actually like add the word black in there. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, and actually for formatting reasons, let's put the label inside of a P.
Okay. So
looks like that's how I had styled it.
Like the actual word black?
No, the label element. I'm sorry.
You got it. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so in here and then.
Yeah, and then we can just copy that whole the key and yeah, perfect.
Right. Ooh, what has happened here? I am good with my shortcuts today, apparently. What is the... Wow. Okay, so that's like 4 colors you think
Yeah, that's
will be
fine.
good?
So black, white, brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure we update our 4s and IDs at the same time.
This is brown, and then orange, perhaps?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I am going to actually contract this a bit just so it's a little easier to read the code. There we go. That way we're not like scrolling back and forth. Awesome.
All right. So do you want to hear how the checkboxes sound with the screen reader?
Let's do it.
Voiceover on Chrome. Cats for yes. Black. Unchecked checkbox. Catch colors. Group. White. Unchecked checkbox. You are brown. Unchecked checkbox. Orange. Unchecked checkbox. Check. Orange. Checkbox. Unchecked. Orange. Checkbox. Submit. Button. Main. Orange. Unchecked checkbox. Catch colors. Group.
Yeah, and just for anyone who's not a keyboard user, you use the expected behavior as a space bar will tick or untick those checkboxes.
Absolutely.
And something I didn't mention on the radio buttons, so you tab between check marks, right? You can confirm that you're tabbing between the check marks. With radio buttons though, since it's a single select option, you navigate through those using the arrow keys. Because you're not each radio button isn't an individual toggle, it's a single toggle amongst the group, whereas the checkboxes are individual toggles.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so now let's put in one of the most abused form types, the select, the drop down, quote unquote.
Voiceover off.
So we can actually put that above cat's colors.
Okay.
And so we can start out with a label.
You got it.
Yeah, and this label is, we can say for markings. And the label, visible text will be cat's markings.
Cat's markings, okay.
Okay, and like I said, we're gonna, and again, we're gonna put, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. We're gonna use a select element this time. So this is the only input that's got like a, well, this and like text area have different names other than input type equals something, and it's select. But it works the same way. So we can say the name is markings. It's, I'm sorry, name is not necessary, but we can do it anyway. We'll say our,
you would probably have the name if you were actually submitting the form, which I think is out of scope for today, but
yeah.
All right.
And then within a select, we put each of our options. So let's say option value equals null, and that'll be, I'm sorry, literally empty.
Oh, okay, the empty string. Got it.
Yeah, and we can say select an option, so there'll be something there by default.
Then I'll just add in, some fancy ellipses there. Cool.
Yeah, and then we can just copy paste that a couple times, and we'll just put, let's see, value can be solid color, or just solid, let's say bicolor. Let's say calico.
All right.
And last one can be tabby. And what this forces is kind of like a checkbox. It forces a single selection from a group, but whereas with radio buttons, you generally don't want to have more than say 5 or so. It just gets cluttered. You can have many more options in a select menu. So yeah, we can hear what that sounds like with the screen reader.
Yeah. So this is us pulling this up, and then with the screen reader.
Voiceover cats for yes. Select an option. Cats markings. Menu pop-up collapsed button. Main. Select an option. Menu item. Menu 5 items. Solid color. Bicolor. Calico. Tabby. Tabby. Cats markings. Menu pop-up collapsed button. Voiceover off.
Very cool.
All right. So those are all of our form field types that I want to cover today, but there are additional things that we can do, that we need to do to make this much more accessible. So one of the things is some of these field forms always seem to have required fields, and there's a very specific way to do that for assistive technology that we can look at now. So let's go ahead and make the cat's name field a required field. So we'll go up there, and there are two attributes that are used for this, but they don't do the exact same thing. So the very first one you must have is aria-required equals true.
Aria required is true. Okay.
Yep, and that will programmatically tell the screen reader that it is required. So we can go ahead and listen to that one if you want.
Yes.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Entering accessible forms with content. Its name. Required menu pop-up. Edit text with autofill menu. Main.
So it did quickly mention required in there. It says it right there. Very
Yep.
cool.
All right,
VoiceOver off.
go ahead and hit the submit button though, and let's see.
Oh, yes.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Accept your email. Cat's nick. Manage. Main. Heading level 1. Register your cat. Submit. Main.
So
Heading level.
basically, it's submitting the form. It's not stopping anything. We don't have that validation in there. We programmatically are telling assistive technology that the field is required, but there's nothing to do any kind of validation at the moment. So what we can do is we can add the HTML required attribute as well to the same field, and we'll see what that gives us.
VoiceOver off.
Okay, I am going to start breaking these attributes onto their own line, just for readability's sake there.
Yep.
Okay, so required?
Yep, just required.
Nothing else?
Yep. So
all right.
let's, save that. Now what happens if you hit the submit button?
VoiceOver on Chrome. Accessible form.
All right. So then if I hit submit.
Cat's name. Required input data menu pop-up. Edit text with autofill menu. To open the autofill menu, press the up or down arrow key, then press the return key to enter it. VoiceOver off.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go.
So all modern browsers will do a minimum bit of form field validation when it has the required attribute on it. However, wasn't totally obvious, but not all screen readers will announce that message. So it's important to still insert an error message that is both visible all the time for sighted folks, and is also programmatically accessible for screen readers. So we'll get to that in a minute, but let's go ahead and add these required attributes to the email field as well.
All right. I'm just gonna do that all in line, I guess. Aria required is true, and then required. So if I were to just do required, would I still get that screen reader messaging that says required, or do I have to use both of these together?
It depends on the screen reader. So the method that is supported across screen readers is the aria-required equals true.
Interesting. I just always assumed that required was enough. Okay.
Okay, cool. And then let's go ahead and add it to the cat's markings select list as well. So you can add these attributes to select, to input types, but they can't be added to just everything. I want to make that caveat clear. So make sure you look up your use case before adding it, because there are some other ARIA like combo box type things where you can use it, but in general, just for your inputs and selects.
Makes sense.
Okay, so now we need to have a visual indication of a field being required as well. So let's go to cat's name, and we'll use the obligatory asterisk after cat's name.
Okay. So like that?
Yeah, that's fine. So what we don't want though, so we've got our programmatic attribute in there telling screen readers that this is a required field. What we don't want is for that star to be announced to assistive technology because it's verbose and unnecessary. So what we can do is we have the star for sighted users, but we can surround it with a span with another ARIA class.
All right.
So this will be ARIA-hidden
Okay.
equals true. Now this is a very powerful attribute. If you stick ARIA-hidden equals true on anything, it will be gone from assistive technology. They will not be able to access it. So be very, very careful in how you apply ARIA-hidden equals true. Generally used to like hide the page contents behind a modal, things like that. That would really be the only time you're like trying to hide everything. Otherwise, you end up hiding things from people that you don't want to do that for.
Yeah, and if you do hide stuff like this, there's like no recourse that the screen reader user has to actually like be able to get their content, right? It's just gone.
Right.
It's not
Correct. Yeah, it's just like using display none or visibility hidden. It's just not there. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that asterisk to the email field. That one's also required, and to that cat's markings field, just so we're not birthday.
Oh, I think I had added the ARIA required to the birthday.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, sorry about that. Should I remove the required from the birthday, you think?
Yeah, I want to show something different on that field.
Okay.
Just to make it less confusing.
So let's do that. Okay.
Okay, so let's go back to the rendered version. Let's fill out something for cat's name, anything.
There's only one correct option.
Why have a cat named Tuna also?
Wait, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Tunas abound.
Yes. So great. Okay, so let's hit the submit button and see what happens with that email field. So it says, please fill out this field. Okay, so that's that required attribute doing its job in the browser. Go ahead and type just a couple characters in that field, not an actual email address, and let's see what happens to that message. So now it's doing some kind of validation. It's saying, I know this is supposed to be an email because it's type equals email. Remember we did input type equals email. And so it's saying, all right, this is not an email address. Please try again. But like I said, those messages are not conveyed to assistive technology consistently. And of course, the message disappeared. As you can see, there's still an error, but it's not persistent. So we still want to inject our own error messages into that. So, okay, this is your time to shine.
Yeah, let's do some injection here, right? So what do you need me to do?
So I guess we can go ahead and, do you want to just put the error message in context and then we can use some JavaScript to hide it?
Yeah.
Okay. So under cat's name.
Under the label?
Under the input.
Under the input. Got it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and put a P for our error message, and we'll give it an ID of error 1, just so it has a unique ID.
Yeah.
And let's say cat's name is required.
Yep. There we go. Cat's name is required.
Cool. So, all right. Did I have another? Oh, can you give it a class equals error? That's right. I did style it a little bit differently, just so it stands out.
Sure thing. Okay.
Yeah. So now if you can put a little script that would inject that, and if we need to put a containing div or something, that's fine, but that injects that error message when the field is empty. Yes. So it seems to me like, let's see what I can do here. So the first, love me some DOM manipulation here. I'm gonna call this name error equals document dot get element by ID, and then we chose the ID error 1, and probably it will start off as hidden, so I think I can just do name error hidden, and then I need probably my form. Const form equals I'll just do that, then form dot on submit
No, hang on. Add event listener on submit. I think it, no, it's just submit. I promise I know JavaScript. And then I think it'll give me the values. Let me see. Form on submit. Show me MDN. Oh, look at that. It's got some JavaScript there for us. Okay. DuckDuckGo, power move. Yes. Yes, Anthony. Let's see. Oh, I think I could just on invalid. I feel like I should just be able to get my form values from this though. Form element dot submit. Hang on. How's everyone doing today, by the way? In the chat. What's new? What's on your mind? Chan, I heard that we got a particularly meaningful anniversary going on over here. You wanna talk about that? Let me see. I feel like there should be. Oh, okay. Right. Got it. Okay. So we take an event, and then we should have. Let me, I guess, just do console.log event. I think it's values. And then we'll see if this works, just to even be able to get this. So no. Ooh, it zoomed in though. That's fun. What? And we're just gonna copy this.
Well,
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We can remove the required attribute because I think that might be tripping it up. It's always gonna fail on that first.
Yeah, so let's nuke that for the time being, and I think it's gonna yell about our other requireds. So I'll temporarily remove those, and then we'll bring it back in. Okay.
Well, and I'll just reiterate that required is not required. It's the RA dash required equals true because we can do all of this other error handling with JavaScript consistently.
Oop, that's the wrong browser. Okay, and then down here we can also do event.prevent default, and I think that's gonna stop us from submitting our page. And then I think we may actually start seeing some values. You asked ahead of time, like, hey, you can write the JavaScript that'll solve this for us, right? I'm like, yeah, I totally can. Okay, so if I had put in something like tuna here, which we both agree is the best name, where is target? Is there values in here? I feel like there's a values in here. No. My goodness. It's wild to me that this is like an array. What? I'm going to. First of all, I'm gonna start at Google, and then I'm just going to. Oh, go ahead.
Something else that we can key off of that we just haven't gotten to yet is anytime you have a required field, you should also have the aria dash invalid equals true or false.
Okay.
So I was gonna split up like required and validation, but yeah. So let's go aria dash required. Aria dash invalid equals true because there's nothing in it by default.
Okay.
And then what our script would do would set that to false if it were had the correct data. Something other than blank for that's all we care about for cat name.
I think starting on the form was the mistake too. So const name field equals document dot query selector. I think we call this name, and so then name field dot Add event listener. Here we go. And then I think I can do change. And then this is event. There we go. Now we're cooking.
Yeah.
Event. So if event dot target dot value dot length greater than 0, then we're going to set name field attribute aria invalid to be false.
Yep.
And then else, and there's more efficient ways we could do this. I totally believe, but that is for another stream, perhaps. I think that should do it. I'm pretty sure that does it. So just to watch our attributes going on here, we start with aria invalid true, and then as I type in here, it does nothing. Do I have? Wow. You're calling into question my whole brand.
I'm sorry.
No, it's totally good. This is on me. I'm now. Oh, I think the aria ones are weird. I think they have to be strings.
Oh.
Am I? Wow. Why isn't that? Called it name, right? We called it name.
Yep.
ID equals name. Okay. It's all right. And we're already kind of running low on time. I think maybe we could describe the rough sketches of what the
Yeah.
JavaScript is supposed to do if it worked.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the idea here is you're making sure you're checking every required field to make sure that there's a value, and you're checking if that value is valid if you have further constraints on it. When a user submits the form, yeah, there we go, and the message and the value is incorrect, or there's no value entered at all, you would get this inline error message that is visible and persistent.
I think I might know. Hang on. I think the form is refusing to pick up the values because we don't have names.
Yeah. That could be. Yeah.
I think. Let's try this. Name, email. If I just add these two in, yeah. Bet you they'll do it. And then let's see here. So if I on submit, I could see some logs here that's got target form. Okay. But yeah, so we would use JavaScript to conditionally render a warning basically that's like, hey, you like this field is required. And yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're running short on time, so let me just talk to a couple other things.
Yeah.
For Kat's birthday, I was going to show that there's another attribute for inputs called pattern, which can match on regex.
Okay.
So for Kat's birthday, you'd have to copy it out of the code pen, I think, but if you say pattern equals and the regex for a certain date format, the field will not submit without matching that regex, and that's just the browser doing that. You don't even need JavaScript or anything at all.
All right. So yeah, you've given me a whole regex here that I'm just going to mercilessly copy paste.
Yeah, it's long.
That is, it's a chunky boy, that's for sure. Here. So yeah, this is checking for date patterns. Now I'm curious, because I know that there is also an input type equals date. So my question is, why go for a pattern like this when type date is available?
That's kind of a longer conversation to get into at the moment, but the pattern here, I was just trying to grab something that I could pattern match. That's all. I didn't want to do email, but since the browser already did that, I just wanted to grab something that I could match on. That's really the short answer. So if you type something
Yeah.
in, yeah, you'll have to fill out. Yeah, so it'll say please match the requested format. So I just want to show that.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, you would also have to display what that pattern requirement is, like below the form field. You would not just expect someone to know it and blindly try to match it. You would give an example. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes, and then the very last thing that we can talk about quickly, if you go ahead and give a unique ID to that pattern, say ID equals help.
Yeah, I'll call it like birthday help.
Yeah, and if we go to the input and we say aria dash described by
Okay.
equals birthday help, then when we go to the browser, not only will it say here this is Kat's birthday field, but it'll announce the pattern as well.
Gotcha. So let's give that a shot.
Voice your email. Required Cat's birthday. Edit text. mm/td/yyyy. You are currently on a text field. To enter text in this field, type.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're really the only times you need to use the aria-described by to programmatically associate those error messages is when you are providing some kind of formatting requirement. Like if you had email is, test@domain.com, you would want to, again, use that aria-described by just so that they have that pattern. They know what they're trying to match. You don't make it hard for them. I see this a lot with like password fields and whatnot. You want to let people know what those password requirements are, and you can do it in that way too. So.
Yeah, the whole like your character must be or your password must be between like 12 to 20 characters, must include like one capital letter, like 3 punctuation marks, 4 Egyptian hieroglyphs, so forth. Yeah. Cool.
Voiceover off.
Yeah, so I think we hit all the high points there.
Yeah. I apologize that the JavaScript did not work. That was like the one thing you asked me to do. Yeah, so I think if there's any questions in the chat, I'd love to hear it. What would you say trips people up the most when it comes to form semantics?
It really seems to be just the basic labeling your inputs, whether that's forgetting the for attribute or not using a label, using a P or a span or something that's not semantically a label. That is the most common error that I see. After that, it would be not marking your required fields as required programmatically.
Okay. Gotcha. And then so we showed the meaningful changes to the user experience using a screen reader. Are there non-screen reader ways we could validate some of these things?
Absolutely. You can always try to use your page or code with a keyboard only. That's a great method to see if things are set up the way that they should be. We also demonstrated the clicking the label, the form label, to make sure that for and ID attribute is matching. But yeah, those are the big ones. But I would really say I encourage all developers to learn to use a screen reader. It's not that hard to get started with, and it really makes you better because you understand what those programmatic and semantic functional elements are and how those things are working and communicating things from the user agent that you don't know just looking at the page.
Absolutely. One other thing I found helpful is I like to pop into the browser's accessibility inspector. So I'm gonna open up the DevTools. I've just hit inspect on this, and then so I'm in my Elements tab over here. I go over to this pane, then I select accessibility, and it'll show me all the different properties, and so I can verify that everything is all set up, wired up the way that I expect. So here it says that we've got a text box with the name Cat's name. We can even see like where it's coming from, right? It's coming from a label that's assigned with the for attribute. So, you should absolutely test your page with a screen reader with other assistive technologies, but this is a good way to see that everything actually is wired up the way that you're expecting.
Yep, every control, everything that's functional needs a name, needs a label.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chat. Anything else? Anything else you want to know in the next few minutes? Um. Yeah, and also to call out, like, when you use your form semantics, there are other benefits even beyond accessibility. Like, the accessibility benefits are huge, right? Making sure that everything has a name, and that, like, you can click the label and it'll focus on the form field. But also worth keeping in mind that using things like type equals email can have benefits, like if someone's accessing your form on a mobile device, then their mobile keyboard will adjust to be like the one that includes the like at symbol and the like period, like more easily reachable that way. So you've got options there where the more you leverage the semantics, the easier the device can make the user experience.
The pattern can help with that too. It
Okay.
can display the numeric keyboard. So for example, when you have like a credit card field, that would actually be a type equals text, but you can say, here's the pattern for a 16-digit number, whatever, and the numeric telephone keypad looking keyboard will come up on your mobile, which I find super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I hadn't. Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, one question from Anthony, and it might have already been answered in the chat. Like, what is the meaning of life?
To help other people.
I love that. Um, yeah, I think that's probably good for the stream. Man, it's wild how time flies.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
when you're streaming. But thank you so much for coming on, Rachel. Y'all, you should go follow Rachel. Rachel has some fantastic tweets, also some fantastic stickers. It turns out you can in fact get Rachel to mail you a sticker with semantic HTML. If you, like me, are a fan of semantic HTML, you
Yep.
might want,
DM me.
yeah, some lovely stickers. Also, Rachel, you've got some things you've written on over on your website. That's rachelditullio.com. Um, is that all the places folks should find you?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. And while you're, following folks on Twitter, go follow Semantics on Twitter. We've got an exciting month coming up. I have to finalize the next few streams, but I think what you should expect is next Tuesday, we're going to bring Mike Aparicio on. We're going to be talking about building your own design systems. I'm super stoked for that. And then the week after that, I believe, is George Francis, who does a ton of incredibly creative stuff with generative art. And so we'll be exploring generative art. I think we'll be exploring the CSS Houdini APIs, etc. So if you want to, kind of keep abreast of what it is we're doing on the stream, you can go follow at SemanticsDev on Twitter. And yeah, we're going to go raid, I believe we're going to raid Jason Langsdorff. I think he's live right now doing some UI UX stuff. So we're going to go raid, stick around for that. And I'll see you next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central. And thank you all for being here. Bye.